Okay.
Hey guys, and welcome to Tnashi's Movie Corner. And for part of the ongoing videos I am doing in October, I will be reviewing The Descent, which came out in 2005 at 99 minutes long. And is directed by Neil Marshall and written by Neil Marshall. And stars Shauna McDonald, Natalie Mendoza, Alex Reed, and a few others, of which I do not know their names right now. But in any case, this movie, a caving expedition, goes horribly wrong as the explorers become trapped and ultimately pursued by a strange breed of predators. Now, obviously, this is supposed to be a horror film, and I had not ever seen this film before. I didn't watch it when it came out. I just wasn't really interested. A lot of horror movies didn't catch my interest at the time, but it was because of Todd All Things Horror, who had this movie kind of thrown into a giveaway, and it made me. I think I asked him about it, and he was talking about how good it was, and so I thought I'd go ahead and check it out. And by check it out, I mean buy it, because it wasn't that expensive. So I want to say up front, this movie starts off a little shaky for me. Shauna McDonald's character, Sarah, she kind of deals with a tragedy very early, and you have one of her best friends, Juno, played by Natalie Mendoza, who seems to be a little controversy there, a little something going on the side. Relationship wise between Juno and Sarah's husband, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, Sarah ends up losing both her husband and her daughter, and time passes, and as a way of getting over that, they decide that they're going to go to cave exploring. I think it was Juno's idea. So a group of 6 decides that they're going to explore this cave, and they get down there and they end up getting kind of stuck, and they're trying to figure their way out. And in the process of doing that, they come across these creatures, and obviously, as you can imagine, creatures start killing people off and everything, and it becomes kind of a battle with them and the creatures, and who's going to make it out. Now, like I said, the beginning is a little sloppy for me. Some of it doesn't look very convincing, especially the death scenes at the very beginning between the husband and the daughter, and the reason for them being in the particular cave that they're in isn't very convincing. But the action of it was surprisingly good. I quite enjoyed the action scenes, and honestly, I enjoyed the cave exploration in general before the creatures showed up. Initially, when the creatures showed up, I was like, well, this is going to take away a little bit, because I was enjoying more of the claustrophobia that you get with seeing these girls trying to make it through some of these caverns, and it really gives you a feeling of being trapped in these spaces. But that being said, after the creatures showed up and everything, and they actually it wasn't purely just these girls dying off. They were, learning stuff about these creatures and how to fight these creatures, and it really became one of those kind of back and forth, who's going to make it, is anyone going to make it kind of thing. So the action of it was pretty good, and the death scenes weren't bad. There's some CG that really doesn't work at all. There's one scene with bats, and it's just like, oh man, that's pretty bad. But I'm not going to fault the movie too much for that. Going into the creatures themselves is a bit back and forth with me because there's some explanation as to why they're there and what they are. But then there's certain things that occur in the movie that don't quite add up to what these creatures are suggested to be. So it takes away a little bit of that for me. And there's this whole thing about them only being able to go by sound and not by sight. But then there's a scene indicating that, well, it must be more than that. Or it's like they present the rules for these creatures and they kind of be like, oh, but we're not going to go by that. We're just telling you. Hopefully you don't notice. So, you know, it works and it doesn't. It kind of depends. But Sarah and Juno are really the strong points for me for this. And it's funny because the title is one of the things I like the most about this movie because it's called The Descent. And one could assume that it's purely, well, they're going down into the caverns, exploring everything. So that's what it means. But it actually has a second layer to it, at least in my mind. May not be the intention of it, but the movie focuses on a character's literal descent into madness, as well as the descent itself being into the caverns. And they're presented throughout the entire course of the movie. They're constantly referenced. So that I really like. There is, obviously blood and everything in this movie, but I don't think it was overly done, which a lot of movies tend to do just for the sake of grossing you out. Some characters, again, were more throwaway than others. Sarah, Juno, Beth, they're kind of stronger presence. Even Rebecca to an extent, but Sam and Holly were more or less throwaways. But that being said, the creatures, as far as appearances, it kind of works. And, the premise is a little strung together, but it's more cohesive than other horror movies I've seen. The action's actually really good. The characters you do actually care about, at least a few of them, whereas most horror movies you don't. So that's got a lot going for it. Not going to blame the CGI too bad. There's actually some really good shots. I don't want to incorporate what they are because I don't want to spoil anything like that in particular. But there are some really great shots in this. There's some awkward shots near the beginning, but there's some great shots in the actual cave. So all in all, I'm glad I bought this film. I'm glad I decided. Thank you, Todd, All Things Horror, for just bringing this to my attention and writing this movie. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7.3 out of 10. I think it's a pretty decent horror movie, and I do suggest, especially if you like horror movies, go ahead and check it out. And I know that there's actually a part 2 to this, so I do intend on reviewing that, and hopefully that'll live up. Oh, I gotta say, the ending to this movie actually worked pretty well for me, so that's another thing just good to add on to it. But anyway, guys, so that'll wrap up this vid. So let me know, have you seen The Descent, and what did you think about it? What do you think about part 2? Don't put any spoilers, preferably, because I haven't seen it. But what do you think about these films? Or if you haven't seen it, do you intend to? Is this something that you might check out now? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed this vid. Click that like button, share, subscribe to my channel, and watch my other vids. I really appreciate you guys. And until next time, peace.